All right, guys, Kelly commentates here. As we all know, the Grand Prix series is now finished. We're just waiting for the Grand Prix final coming up in December. So while we're waiting for that, I thought it would be fun to look at some of the top skating stories from this year's Grand Prix series from the 2024 to 2025 Grand Prix figure skating season. So go ahead and stick with me here. It's going to be super fun. We're going to look at all the disciplines and some of the top stories. These are just ones that I found really interesting. These are by no means all of the stories of the Grand Prix series, but I do hope that you enjoy. We're going to be talking about all the different skaters here, such as Mikhail Shidorov making the Grand Prix final, the return of Alyssa Liu. We're going to talk about our comeback queens, Rino Matsuke and Amber Glenn, and so much more. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Please note that these stories are not ranked in any particular order. Thank you so much. The first story really speaks to my heart. It is Alyssa Liu from the United States returning to competition after a 2-year hiatus. She technically retired in 2022, right after she won a world bronze medal at the World Championships and competing at the Beijing Olympics. Alyssa said she was done, she would never return, and I know that she did do some skating, like ice skating professional shows that same summer of 2022, but thereafter we didn't hear anything else from her. It was radio silent, and earlier in this year we did get some buzz that Alyssa had possibly ice skated, she might be returning, and she made her official announcement that she would be returning to competition after reigniting her love of figure skating. So we were super blessed to learn that we would have her back, especially in this current US crop of ladies skaters or women skaters that is pretty competitive. So definitely looking forward to seeing more from her. After she came back this year, her first official competition back was winning a gold medal at the Budapest Trophy. And then on the Grand Prix circuit, doing good, very, very strong. At Skate Canada, she was second in the short program, but did fall down due to some under rotations in the standings, coming out in 6th place and then getting 4th place at NHK Trophy. So Alyssa's showing her same consistency that we always knew her to have. She has basically all her jumps back. The biggest thing she's going to need to work on, and I can tell that she is, I really have seen improvements even throughout this short season that we've seen her so far, is going to be her under rotations. Unfortunately, those really chip away at her score, but it was such a welcome return to skating, just one of the top stories of the year in general, and so good to see her back in action. I could scream with delight at our next story. It is the story of Amber Glenn from the United States, our new consistency queen. And in no ways am I trying to jinx her by proclaiming this. I just think that 3 competitions in a row, she has won gold. And basically, as the statement says, she's won at every event she's entered so far this season. I just think that is freaking amazing. I don't think she's ever shown so much consistency in her entire career. And she's not quote unquote young in the figure skating world. She is 25 years old. I just really appreciate Amber showing everyone out that, being older in the sport is not a detriment. In fact, you can have your best results. The older you get, the more mature you get. Amber has commented that she really worked on her mental game this season, and I can really, really see it. Some people were really upset that she showed so much excitement at her first competition, Grand Prix de France, when she got a massive score. She overcame Gracie Gold's highest short program score for United States woman, getting over 78 points in the short program alone with her strong triple axel. And people were upset that she and her coach showed so much excitement for her score, saying, she should, just assume she's going to be getting these high scores. And while I do agree, I do think you want to go out to win and have that winner's mindset. I think that there's nothing wrong with her and her coach showing excitement because it was a huge score. It was a huge milestone, not only in her career, but as I stated, she has the highest women's short program score for an American woman ever. And I think it's very well deserved. But I have seen more confidence at her interview from the Cup of China. She said, because they asked her, how are you preparing for the Grand Prix final? She said, I'm just going to train and go out to do what I know I can do and what I'm trained to do. And I really love that attitude. It's not like, oh, I just want to go do my best. I just hope I show everyone. And while I think that's a good attitude, I like her attitude that she's assuming she's just going to go hit like she does in practice. And I am so excited to see what else she does the rest of the season. The next story really tickles my funny bone as well. Even though it is sad, I am very excited about the skater who is going to be joining the Grand Prix finals. So we learned just this week that Mikhail Shidorov, the first alternate for the Grand Prix final, he's from Kazakhstan, will be going to the Grand Prix final after Adam Xiaohemfa from France drops out due to an ankle injury he sustained at Cup of China. So while I am very sad for Adam because the final is going to be in his home country, it is good that Kevin Amos will be there to represent his country in Adam Xiaohemfa's place. And then just so good for Mikhail Shidorov to get this opportunity. He has some of the most beautiful jumps ever, and he does a triple axel quadruple toe combination. He is the first man to land it in competition, and just very exciting stuff. But even more than that, I think he really engages in his performance. I really enjoy his programs. I loved his long program last year. That's kind of when I really started to notice him, and will be very exciting to see how he does with this opportunity at Grand Prix final. The next story is also very heartwarming. We have Kevin Amos from France winning 2 silvers on the Grand Prix circuit and qualifying for the Grand Prix final. This is after he had a disastrous European competition in 2024, not even making the free skate for Euros. So, he just had a lot to prove this year, and he more than did it. He overcame all the demons that he was fighting from the past season and just had, some phenomenal skates. I was there in person at Skate America when he got his first silver and got to see his reaction to the free program. It was one of the kind of craziest reactions I've ever seen. He was so enthusiastic. He ran out of the kiss and cry. He was jumping up and down. His coach was crying before he even finished his performance. So I know there are some comments that, maybe their relationship is a little too intense, but you have to think of it like a coach is often just as invested in their skaters as the skater themselves. And I'm sure the coach knows what he's been through this season. So for them to celebrate in such a way, I did not have any problem with it. And it's very exciting for him to represent France in his home country for the Grand Prix final. The next story that kind of popped up and was a little surprising is that Fearon Gibson from Great Britain qualified in first over Chalk and Bates, who had qualified in first the previous season. Now, I do think that Fearon Gibson will have a lot to prove at the Grand Prix final this year. They were out of the medals last year in 4th place, so I'm sure that they're going to want to get onto the podium. Now, if you actually look at the overall scores, however, Chalk and Bates still have the highest scoring from the Grand Prix series. Chalk and Bates is kind of known to struggle earlier in the season, and they did attend the first Grand Prix, which was Skate America, which is where Fearon Gibson, bested them. But Fearon Gibson only got 205 points, and then Madison Chalk and Evan Bates were able to get 215 at their second Grand Prix weeks later at NHK Trophy. So even though Fearon Gibson had a decisive win over them at Skate America, it is still probably going to be Chalk and Bates' competition to lose at Grand Prix final. This next story was such a joy to watch. It was Rino Matsuke giving a rousing free skate at Skate Canada, as well as her second Grand Prix as well. But at Skate Canada, it was astounding. She went from 10th place in the short program to first in the free skate, getting second overall. It was absolutely perfection. I do believe that she had the free skate of the season so far, and it was wonderful to watch. Reno was the last qualifier for the 6 women, so she will be at the Grand Prix final, but she had the 4th highest free skate of 139 this season. So really what we're going to be watching out for at the Grand Prix final is her short program. That's really where she kind of tends to lose. So if she can skate a clean short program, because she's such a good free skater, I do think that she would actually sneak onto the podium, so it'll be so fun to see if she'll be able to do it. It was just awesome. How do you pick a favorite story? It's like picking a favorite child. You just can't do it. Wakaba Higuchi from Japan wins her first ever Grand Prix at 23 years old, winning Skate America. This was such a decisive victory for her. She has such a unique long program. You see her costume here for her long program. It actually looks a lot like Amber Glenn's free skate program costume, which is kind of funny. But Wakaba, a lot of people have kind of lamented that she seems to have been forgotten by the Japanese Skating Federation in the past. But look at her making a name for herself, qualifying very high for the final. Definitely has a shot of winning or at least medaling at the final. And it was just amazing to see her skate so well and continue to skate well at her second Grand Prix as well. One story that is also kind of interesting is that Stellato Dudek and Deschamps in pairs from Canada qualified in first with 2 gold medals, but they have the 5th highest total overall score. So there's a lot of pairs that are really nipping at their heels, and they're kind of in a similar situation, except that last year they did qualify in first, but dropped down to third in the Grand Prix final, whereas this year they are qualified in first, but there are teams with higher scores. I feel like Stellato Dudek and Deschamps have had these little errors kind of chipping away at them throughout this season. So it is going to be interesting to see, are they going to be able to come out on top or not? I do think that Metalkina and Burualava are a newer senior team this year, are really nipping at their heels. And then, of course, we have our winners from last year, Haza and Volodin from Germany, who will really want to obviously win the Grand Prix final if they can. So will be very fun to see. All right, in ice dance, we had kind of a small little controversy when Guinard and Fabri from Italy changed their robot costume from the one on the left to the one on the right midway season. It seems like this kind of worked for them, though, because this is for their free dance, and they did get a higher score when they debuted with the new costume. So just saying, not sure if there's anything to be said about that, but supposedly they did get a violation for the costume on the left, as costumes cannot simulate nudity. And while I don't personally see that, I mean, they're obviously robots here, and I personally enjoy the costume on the left more. I do understand why they changed the costume, and even though the one on the right is kind of boring to me, it gives me more like exoskeleton instead of robot. They did what they felt that they had to do, and hopefully this does improve the trajectory of their season. Speaking of costumes, what beautiful costumes from Smart and Deke for their free dance this year to their Dune program. And what's really nice about them is they are a newer team, but they are the second alternates for the Grand Prix final and have gotten personal best scores across the rhythm dance, free program, and total overall score since the start of their careers. So this is a really exciting program for them. I did hear a rumor that Madison Chalk designed this outfit for her. I got to see it in person, and just kind of that shawl and covering around her head, it just frames her face so well, and it's such a beautiful costume. So I am so excited and happy for this team. I think that they really designed something unique and interesting for the ice amidst a sea of other Dune programs. Okay, this next one is such a sad one. Luna Hendricks withdrew from both of her Grand Prix assignments after getting third place at the Shanghai Trophy. Third place sounds good, but when you look at it in the context of her career, she got a score of about 179, which is one of the lowest scores of her career since she's been one of the top ladies. So she did drop out, citing preparation issues, and that, once she feels prepared, that she will return, hopefully for the rest of the season. And then Isabeau Levito also withdrew from her second Grand Prix after getting bronze at Skate America. It's rumored due to injury, although right now we're not really sure when Isabeau will return. USFS did recently announce the lineup for Nationals in Wichita, Kansas in January. Isabeau's name is on the list. She does have a bye to Nationals, so let's hope that she is able to skate if she's feeling healthy, and, we're hoping all the best for Isabeau. All right, you guys, this is just some of the top stories of mine from this fall's Grand Prix series. What were your top stories? What did you see that really stuck out to you on the Grand Prix circuit? And what are your favorite skaters to watch? Thank you so much for listening. As always, over and out. This is Kelly Commentates.